Much like the school bus, today we're going to be tackling another icon of the car world. Don't go away. Hey everybody, it is Paul from Fat Guy Productions, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And yes indeed, today we are going to tackle an icon, a car that everybody is going to know. It's going to be a lot of fun, so let's jump right in. Okay, so by now you guys should know that I have a bit of a bromance with Tom Daniel, the incredible designer of all of the coolest cars. Whether they be model kits or Hot Wheels or whatever, from when I was growing up as a kid. I used to want to be him, and I would sketch out cars and send them to Monogram, hoping they would someday make them into models. So go figure that I'm doing another Tom Daniel car here. This is the Hot Wheels Funny Money, another Tom Daniel design. It is the hot rod race car, twin-engined armored car. Go figure. Okay, so mine is missing a few pieces, and the paint is a little worn and blah. The wheels look like hell, but it's solid. And, it's always the biggest thing is how's the hinge. The hinge is great, so that means we've got something we can work with here. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's go ahead and take her and get her tooken apart. Tooken? Is that a word? Tooken? Tooken, taken? Taken apart? Took apart. Something like that. Alright. We're going to tooken it apart. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and use my shielded drilling over this one single rivet that's dead center in the middle. Now, the base and the body are not going to come apart. What is going to happen is the part that holds the motors is going to come off, and then that will allow us to get to the suspension board and get that and the wheels out of there as well. Okay, with the rivet drilled off, we can finish tookening it apart, and here you can see the little engine setup, and here comes the suspension board. I hate these things. These are the bane of all Restor's existence. The axle's actually molded right into the suspension board, and these are a capped wheel, so the back of the wheel is actually stuck on the axle. And so it's really a problem. My suspension board is good, but I'm going to find there's a problem there later. Yeah, the rest of the car is looking pretty good. So we can just take this whole piece and send it over to the warm liquid goo and get that paint off of there. Bloop! There it goes, into the warm liquid goo. Okay, so the next day we came back and we plucked the car out of the goo, took it to the sink, gave it a washing and brushing, and all the paint just went right away. Worked great, no problems. So we've let it dry thoroughly, and now we're going to mask off the base because, there's no really legitimate way to take the base off the body. I guess you could repair something like this, but there's no way I'm doing that if I don't have to, so we're going to just tape it off, and then we can run over to the paint booth where we're going to paint this thing with some Tamiya X10, which is a gunmetal gray. A little bit darker than they had it, but I think it's going to really work out nice, give it a nice metallic, heavy metal look, and just be a little bit darker. And I wanted it a little bit darker for a reason. I have something else in mind, and so we'll go ahead and start laying the paint down. As always, I went ahead and thinned my Tamiya down with a little X20 and a little bit of leveling thinner, And now I'm going to put the paint down, starting with my tack coat, then some medium coats, and then finally the heavy coats. Now, this particular model is so full of rivets and details and stuff like that that it's really hard to tell if you're getting your paint on right. So what I was able to do is I was able to kind of focus on the hood, and when the hood looked right, I just had to assume that the entire car looked right. Just so much going on, so busy, it made it virtually impossible for me to tell what was going on. You know, I talk about being able to see the paint going on in the lighting, almost impossible on the sides. I'm really loving the way the gunmetal looks on here. It's got this great look to it, and the way the rivets pop in the light, they almost kind of light up in this. I just love the way this came out. I told you I had a problem with the suspension board, and here it is. The back part of one of the wheels is broken, and I can't get the axle out, and I can't get that part off the axle. So I've got a big dilemma. Now I could take apart another car to get a piece here. That seems kind of wasteful. Man, this really sucks, and it's the reason I don't like these kind of things. If the board breaks or one of these pieces of the wheel breaks, it's a problem, and it's a pain to deal with. So I had a novel idea, and I made my own base. And, you know, in some other models for straight axles, Hot Wheels had developed like a hook system, and I made a base to match it with little hooks on it. And I tried that, and it was working. I got the wheels on, you know, I had a spare set of axles, brand new ones that you can buy. And so I had all of that, and it was working. But there was a little piece that needed to be trimmed off, and this is right at the end. I'd been working on this for a while. And when I was trimming it off, I broke the entire board, and I was like, oh man. So I could start that whole process over again, or I could turn to an entirely new tactic, which is probably what I should do first. But it's kind of nice to know I can make a new suspension board. But what I'm going to do instead now is I'm taking the original one, and I'm gouging out, carefully, the plastic that is holding the axles in. And then once I've got enough of it there, I can pop the axle out of the little groove that's left, and then clean that up. And then I'm just going to use a little super glue and baking powder, and baking soda, and I'm going to glue it into the suspension board, and that should fix my issue. But it is nice to know that I can 3D print a whole new suspension board and a whole new way to clip wheels down. In case, like, I broke the suspension board here, I'd have a fallback position. So, got the axle laying in the groove where the old one came out of, and I'm putting down a little bit of super glue, and then I've got my baking powder. I'm just going to sprinkle it on there, and make sure I get it all over the place. And that will dry rock hard, and that axle should be permanently stuck in there, and we'll do the same for the other end. So my funny money was missing the roll cage and the front bumper. I was able to find a salvaged piece of for a bumper and a replacement, a repop for the roll cage, and I got that from Second Chance Redlines. I wish he had the bumper. I consider myself lucky that I found one, but I did. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. All right, so these pieces just kind of snap on to the motor base, and they've got little hooks. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, okay? I ended up using a pair of needle nose pliers and stuff. Takes a little work to get these things to snap on. But once they're on, and then we can go ahead and move forward. Okay, so we got all the replacement parts on. We were able to put the repaired suspension board back in, put the motors on top, And now we're going to just screw it together with one screw and our little Allen wrench. And we'll see what we've got. Okay, so you can see that it rolls good. It's looking nice so far.
Right.
So we can go ahead and move forward with this.
Great.
Now you remember I said that I was kind of happy that the gunmetal is a darker metallic color, and here's why. I decided that the big vault door in the back should be chrome, and the best chrome I have is Multau. So here I am pumping some of the Multau chrome into one of my little pill trays, and I'm going to brush paint this on. Now, if you haven't worked with Multau can be difficult. It needs to go on fast and wet. It needs to be really, really wet so it'll flow out and smooth out. Otherwise, it can start to get lumpy, and the worst thing is it can start to lose its chrome effect. So you've got to work pretty quickly here. So I'm loading the brush with a lot of Multau, keeping it really, really wet, and I'm painting it on as fast as we can so that I can have my chrome hatch in the back. See how nice that pops out? I really love the look of that. I think it was a really nice touch. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so the engines are really kind of boring and lifeless. So I'm using a little Tamiya XF1 flat black paint, and I'm blacking out the where the openings in the air scoops would be to make it look like they're open. Thought about drilling those out, but I thought that was too big of a risk. Maybe it's something I could practice on if I have a scrap piece. But for now, a little black paint's going to have to do. And then there's this little formation on the front of the motors that I'm assuming is supposed to represent the belts and maybe the pulleys. So taking a little creative license, I went ahead and painted around that too to simulate the look of a belt. And then went ahead and stuck that back in the car because I really thought it was just too boring underneath there. Okay, so here are some Second Chance Redlines decals. Funny Money decals. These are what would have been on the car. And I don't necessarily like them, but because it's what's supposed to be on the car, that's what I'm going with. And again, there's so much detail on this thing and so many rivets and all this. This is one of the decals where you need to trim it right up to the very edge. You don't want any excess to have to fight with. So we've trimmed them down, we're dipping them, and we're going to let them sit for a little bit. We put a little water on the door of the truck, just a little dampness to make sure that it doesn't stick down immediately, because we want to be able to position it after we get it onto the truck. Alright, it's sliding off the paper slightly. We can grab it with our tweezers, and we can go to the vehicle, and with the help of a toothpick, we'll hold it down, and we can slide out the backing paper, neat as you please. There you have it. Now we can focus on positioning the decal perfectly. If you need to, put a little more water there. And once we have it in place, then I will use my micro sol, and I'll put some of that on there to make sure any place that the decal is going over some texture or a rivet or a body line or whatever, it'll be able to melt down over that and really look fantastic. Well, the car's together, the decals are on, we've done some detail painting, and I think it's looking fantastic. So with no further ado, here's the finished product. I think it looks amazing, and I hope you do too. All right, there it is. The Tom Daniel designed Hot Wheels Redline Funny Money. A twin mill drag car in the shape of an armored car. Too cool. Love it. Look at that. Okay. How cool. How fun. And oddly enough, I never knew this about this car. It's part of the Heavyweight series. Who knew? Anyhow, it was a lot of fun. Brought some challenges with it, but in the end, it's going to look great. Look at it sitting right here. Matter of fact, I got the school bus sitting right here. Okay, so look at this. Look. Okay. Look at it. Look at how cool. Huh? How cool. That is just awesome, right? And a lot of fun. Alright, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, click the little bell. You'll be notified anytime I release a new video. If you have any questions or comments, as always, please leave them down below. I have links down there also for all the stuff that I use on a regular basis. So if you're looking for something, look down there. If I forget to put it down there, shoot me a message. I'll try and find it and let you know what it is and how to get it. Alright, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions wishing you the most fabulous day full of riches brought to your lap by an armored car. Just wonderful things happening for you. I hope it is just amazing and great and fabulous. Until next time, be good.